Adrian couldn't shake the memory of kindness. The twins' faces haunted him through sleepless nights. He stood before windows, city lights reflecting doubt. Wealth surrounded him, but emptiness whispered louder. He called Ethan, his loyal and quiet aide. "I need to find them," Adrian said firmly. Ethan raised a brow but didn't question him. Within days, information arrived wrapped in quiet sorrow. "Hazel and Grace Bennett," Ethan read softly aloud. "They live with their mother Claire, East Side." Adrian nodded slowly, heart heavy with quiet urgency. He stared at their photo, two smiling shadows. Something fragile in their eyes demanded his attention. He drove through Portland's streets under pale sunlight. The skyline shimmered, but his focus stayed grounded. The East Side was nothing like his world. Crumbling buildings leaned into each other for support. Children played near cracked sidewalks and flickering lamps. He parked near a rusted fence, stepping out. The smell of rain mixed with old stone. Every sound echoed, life surviving in quiet defiance. He found the building, paint peeling, steps uneven. Apartment 3B, Ethan had written in neat ink. Adrian climbed slowly, heartbeat drumming with something unfamiliar. At the door, he heard coughing, soft, strained. He knocked gently, unsure if he should be there. The door opened and Hazel stood, eyes widening. Behind her, Grace appeared, clutching the same bread. "Sir?" Hazel whispered, voice caught between fear and hope. Adrian smiled faintly, holding out a grocery bag. "Thought your mother might like something warm today." Grace blinked, glancing toward the small kitchen light. Claire Bennett appeared, pale but dignified despite her exhaustion. "Mr. Miles?" she asked, confusion softening into gratitude. He nodded once, words failing against her quiet strength. Inside, the apartment smelled of lavender and medicine. He set the groceries down beside an empty table. "Thank you," Claire said, her voice almost breaking gently. Adrian shook his head, struggling to meet her eyes. "No thanks needed," he said softly, almost ashamed. Hazel and Grace watched him like a miracle unfolding. That night, Adrian drove home beneath silver rain. The city glimmered, but his reflection looked different. He no longer saw power, only purpose stirring. For the first time, peace didn't seem impossible, and deep inside, something began quietly to heal. Days passed, yet Adrian couldn't stay away. He returned to the East Side quietly. No cameras, no suits, no polished car. Only a man trying to understand compassion. The bakery owner nodded when Adrian walked in. "You again?" Mr. Thompson said with a smile. Adrian bought bread, always 2 loaves. "One for me, one for them," he said. Outside, the rain had begun to fall softly. Portland's streets shimmered beneath amber streetlights and puddles. He found the Bennetts again that evening. Hazel opened the door, laughter chasing her fear. "Sir, Mom's feeling better today," she said proudly. Grace held a small drawing in her hands. "It's you," she whispered. "You brought the food." Adrian smiled, the paper trembling slightly in his grasp. It showed him with bread, surrounded by light. For a moment, his heart forgot its walls. Claire appeared, leaning against the door for balance. "Mr. Miles," she said, voice wrapped in gratitude, "I can't let you keep doing this." Adrian met her eyes, clear, steady, kind. "I'm not doing charity," he said softly. "I'm just trying to do what's right." She studied him, seeing the truth behind wealth. Not arrogance, but longing for redemption's quiet touch. He hired a doctor for her treatment quietly. He paid rent through an anonymous donor each month. He even arranged school scholarships for the twins. But Claire knew, though he never admitted anything. One evening, she waited outside the bakery alone. When Adrian arrived, she handed him a letter. "I wrote this," she said, her voice shaking, because you gave me hope to breathe again." Adrian unfolded it. Her words were simple, pure. "Kindness isn't debt," it read. "It's shared survival." He stood there for a long moment, silent. The city moved around them, unaware of grace. That night, he walked by the river's edge. Wind carried the scent of bread and rain. His reflection trembled on the water, changed, human. He whispered to himself, "Maybe this is living." And somewhere, 2 little girls prayed for him too. News travels fast in cities like Portland. One morning, the bakery's kindness jar overflowed. Someone snapped a photo, posted it online. "Anonymous man funds struggling families," the caption read. By noon, hashtags flooded every corner of social media. Kind eyes, pay it forward. Portland Angel trended worldwide within hours. Adrian's name wasn't mentioned, but whispers spread. His face appeared in grainy photos and guesses. "Harborview executive seen helping poor family," headlines teased. Ethan called him, voice tight with disbelief. "You've become a myth, Adrian," he said softly. Adrian sighed, watching the rain-streaked glass windows. "I didn't do it for fame," he murmured. "I know," Ethan replied, "but fame found you." That evening, reporters waited outside Claire's apartment building. Neighbors peeked from doors, whispering about the angel. Claire stood frozen, clutching Hazel's small, trembling hand. She hadn't asked for this kind of attention. When Adrian arrived, cameras turned, flashes burst like fireworks. "Mr. Miles! Why this family? Why them?" they shouted. He shielded the twins, voice calm but sharp. "Because kindness shouldn't need a reason," he said. The words echoed through microphones and TV screens. Across the city, strangers smiled at their phones. A woman paid for a bus fare silently. A boy left soup at his neighbor's door. Kindness multiplied faster than anyone expected that week. But for Claire, it was too much light. That night, she knocked on Adrian's hotel door. "They won't leave us alone," she said quietly. Her shoulders shook, exhaustion weighing on her frame. "I never wanted to be a story." Adrian nodded, guilt cutting through his calm exterior. "I'll make it stop," he promised without hesitation. He made calls, pulled strings, silenced the press. Within days, the noise faded like a storm. Peace returned, fragile, but still holding strong. Claire found him at the bakery soon after. "You fixed it," she said, almost smiling again. He nodded. "Sometimes, protection is the purest gift." Their eyes met, not with romance, but understanding. 2 people, both learning to rebuild from scars. And in that quiet space between them, something gentle began to grow. Trust, maybe hope. Days turned softer after the storm faded away. The city returned to its usual quiet rhythm. Adrian visited the bakery every other morning. Claire always had his coffee ready, no sugar. Hazel drew him pictures, stick figures and smiles. Liam laughed whenever Adrian pretended to burn toast. It felt almost like family, but not quite. There was warmth, but also distance, unspoken restraint. One evening, Claire locked up the bakery early. The air smelled of cinnamon and melting snow. "Why do you keep helping us?" she asked. Adrian paused, eyes lingering on the closing sign. "Because you remind me what real strength looks like." Her eyes softened, pain flickering behind her calm. "Strength doesn't mean I'm not scared," she whispered. "I know," he said. "Courage lives beside fear." They stood in silence, the world gently slowing down. Outside, Christmas lights blinked against the fogged window glass. Hazel's laughter drifted faintly from the upstairs room. Adrian turned toward the door but hesitated halfway. "You've rebuilt so much," he said quietly, admiring her. Claire smiled faintly. "We both did, didn't we?" He chuckled, the first genuine laugh in weeks. That night, He walked home under falling snowflakes. Each step echoed softly against the sleeping city streets. He realized peace wasn't loud. It whispered quietly. The next morning, the bakery bell chimed again. A line of strangers waited, holding kindness jars. Each jar carried stories, hopes, second chances, gratitude. Adrian and Claire exchanged a knowing glance, hearts steady. Kindness had become contagious, uncontainable, beautifully unstoppable. And though no one said it aloud that morning, they both knew this was only the beginning. Snow blanketed the city in quiet silver light. The bakery windows glowed warm against the frost. People gathered, laughter spilling onto the cobblestone streets. Each kindness jar sat neatly on the counter. Coins, notes, and thank you letters filled every glass. Strangers donated meals, blankets, and hopeful words. A single act had grown into a movement. News spread. The Little Bakery of Hope. Reporters came, snapping photos of Claire's gentle smile. Adrian stayed behind the scenes, quietly observing everything. He didn't crave fame, only peace and meaning. One night, Claire found him fixing the heater. "You could have been anywhere," she said softly. Adrian smiled, hands covered in oil and dust. "I'm exactly where I need to be," he replied. Outside, children built snowmen wearing paper kindness tags. Each tag carried messages. "You're loved, stay strong." Hazel handed Adrian one that said, "Family forever." He froze for a second, emotions crashing like waves. Claire saw it, the tears he didn't shed. "You are part of this family," she whispered. For the first time, he didn't deny it. The soldier who once carried loss now carried hope. And the woman who once lost faith found peace. That winter, the city became softer, warmer, kinder. Every morning, bells rang and hearts quietly healed. Sometimes miracles don't roar. They whisper like snow. Night fell softly over Portland's sleeping streets. Adrian sat alone in the quiet bakery. Only the ticking clock kept him company. On the counter lay his old army journal. The cover was torn, pages smudged with rain. Inside, words of men who never came home. He turned a page, stopped at Daniel's handwriting, his best friend, his brother in every way. "Promise me," the note read, "you'll live kindly." Adrian's hands trembled. Memories filled the silent room. The laughter, the battlefield, the last goodbye whispered. For years, guilt had sat heavy on his chest. He never wrote Daniel's family, couldn't face it. But tonight he picked up the pen slowly. Ink met paper, truth finally spilling through tears. "Your son was brave. He saved my life. He taught me kindness, even in the dark. He's the reason I'm still trying today." The letter ended simply. "He lives through me." Adrian folded it, sealed it with shaking hands. He left early the next morning at sunrise. The bakery doorbell chimed softly as he exited. He found the house after miles of silence. An old woman opened the door, eyes tired. Adrian smiled faintly and handed her the letter. She read it slowly, tears tracing lines of love. Then she held his hand, whispering, he'd be proud. For the first time, Adrian's heart felt light again. He had carried pain for years, now peace. Some wounds don't close. They learn to breathe gently, and sometimes forgiveness isn't asked, it's lived. Winter arrived quietly, soft snow covering Portland's streets. The city shimmered under pale silver light. Adrian walked slowly, coat buttoned, eyes distant, calm. He passed the park where children built snowmen. Laughter echoed, pure, unguarded, full of warmth. He stopped when he saw Hazel and Grace. They were chasing flakes, their cheeks flushed pink. Their mother, Claire, stood nearby, smiling faintly. She noticed Adrian and waved him over gently. "Mr. Miles," she said softly, "you've done enough." Adrian shook his head, voice barely a whisper. Kindness doesn't have a finish line, Miss Bennett. They shared coffee as the snow thickened outside. Grace handed him a tiny handmade card. It read, "Thank you for saving our winter." Adrian smiled, eyes glistening, unable to speak fully. That night he returned home feeling strangely full. He stood by his window, watching the snow. Each flake felt like forgiveness falling from heaven. He thought of Daniel, the letter, the bakery. He thought of hunger, of love, of second chances. The city lights blurred behind a curtain of white. Adrian whispered, "Maybe peace isn't found. It's made." He placed the children's card on his desk gently. Next to it lay the bakery's old receipt, two symbols of a life quietly rebuilt. Outside, dawn began painting the sky with silver. And in that fragile moment of morning grace, Adrian Miles finally felt truly, beautifully alive. Years later, the bakery still stood bright. Children laughed near the window, chasing sugar dust. A framed photo hung beside the register. It showed Adrian, Hazel, Grace, and Claire smiling. Below it, a plaque read, "Kindness builds futures." Mr. Thompson had passed, but his recipe remained. Every loaf carried warmth, memory, and quiet love. Hazel now helped run the Little Sunrise Bakery. Grace painted murals of hope on Portland's walls. And Adrian, he became more than a name. He funded schools, shelters, and community kitchens across Oregon. Yet he always returned to that same corner. He'd sit by the window, order black coffee. Sometimes he'd watch strangers help each other silently. Sometimes he'd see himself in them, lost once. Peace had found him not through wealth, but giving. The world still hurried, but he walked slower, because he knew every moment held a choice, to pass by or to pause, and change everything. The bakery bell chimed softly as he left. Snow began falling, gentle as an answered prayer. And somewhere beyond the winter air and light, kindness kept moving, hand to hand, heart to heart.